Chapter 8 Chasing Mad Cow.
One of my most memorable police calls involved a wild cow loose on the streets of Phoenix. Riding solo during a night shift, I decided to forego a backup officer to a radio call of a wild cow running around downtown. It seemed too silly to be true. An anonymous caller reporting a cow running loose, interfering with traffic at a major intersection. Someone must have called in a prank since there were no farms or other livestock facilities in the area. The notion that a wild cow could be strolling around downtown in a busy city seemed ridiculous. I didn't want to play into this prankster's hands, providing them with the spectacle of multiple police cars racing to the area looking around for a mad cow. The radio dispatcher even heard someone laughing in the background during the 911 call. But I drove into the supposed cow-ridden area just to make sure, and had difficulty getting to the actual intersection. The traffic flow slowed to almost a standstill, unusual for 10 o'clock on a weekend night. Refusing to believe the possibility that the intersection was cow-jacked, I finally reached the intersection, and the proof was in the pasteurized pudding. An angry-looking cow was indeed running wild in the street. Snorting a flow of red ooze from her nostrils and mouth, the cow angrily bucked, jumped, and stumbled in and out of the halted traffic. The only thing moving in the intersection was the cow, with complete wild abandonment. She wasn't acting like any cow I had ever seen. Having grown up in a major city, I knew next to nothing about bovine behavior. The full extent of my cow knowledge was what I had observed from the highway as I watched seemingly bored, lazy cows chewing their cud or grazing in the wide open green fields. My ignorance would become quickly and painfully clear in short order. I drove my patrol car close to the cow to maneuver the beast away from the intersection, as her behavior posed a real threat to motorists and pedestrians alike. Surprisingly, using the patrol car to herd the cow worked, steering her down a side street away from the traffic jam. Taking advantage of a small dry canal that ran parallel along the street, I herded and contained the cow down into the shallow dirt and grass-filled canal. Strategically parking my patrol car, I blocked her from getting out of the canal. The cow appeared to be content and out of harm's way from the honking metal monsters. Within a few minutes, the red foam from her nose subsided, and the spooked animal appeared more passive, and she even grazed on the grass lining the canal walls. I informed the radio dispatcher of the wild cow's existence, asking for assistance from an agency that handles livestock situations. The dispatcher made several urgent messages to county livestock, receiving a call back 30 minutes later from a representative. The awakened on-call representative relayed instructions directing me to keep the animal detained, reassuring me they dispatched a cattle transportation vehicle. The estimated arrival time could take as much as an hour. Translation, I would need to babysit the cow for up to 2 hours. Did I mention they don't teach bovine babysitting at the academy? Stepping out of my patrol car, I started talking to the cow in a calm, cow-sounding voice. Think Kermit the Frog talking like Tarzan. I became a cow whisperer. The traffic was moving slowly, drivers trying to catch a glimpse of a cop talking sweetly to a cow in a canal. The calm lasted less than 30 minutes. 2 state troopers with blaring sirens and emergency lights flashing drove into the area and spooked the animal. She sprang out of the canal and climbed onto the hood of my patrol car with an impressive show of acrobatic speed and power. I only saw a blur trampling over my car on her way back onto the pavement. I was right back where I started, chasing a mad cow. But after a long rest, the cow regained her strength, and with renewed energy, she was stronger and harder to control. I jumped back into my patrol car, took off after the cow, and advised on my radio. The mad cow is back on the loose, sounding like I was chasing a murderous hit-and-run driver. She sprinted back onto the main road, but I diverted her onto a side street and away from the heavy traffic. The cow ran into a small apartment complex parking lot. Knowing the apartment complex layout, I knew the gated community only had one way in and out. The cow would soon be trapped, or so I thought. Once the cow ran deep enough into the complex parking lot, I put my cow-catching plan into action. After parking strategically to block the only way in or out, I got out on foot to execute phase 2 of my plan. I would follow her to the dead end, and then, with my high school wrestling training, grapple her to the ground. I never said it was a good plan. I didn't think through the part about wrestling 2 tons of beef. Keep in mind, I came up with this terrible cow-catching plan after witnessing the cow demolish the front of my patrol car upon jumping out of the canal bank. Any plan hatched from anger is inherently flawed. Walking after the cow, I followed her at a distance as she neared the dead end. She trotted to the very end of the complex, pausing to contemplate her dilemma. Okay, maybe she wasn't contemplating anything, but simply turned around upon hitting the dead end. In my adrenaline-fueled state, I visualized after the cow turned around, we would begin our slow walk toward each other, never expecting her to charge full steam ahead like a bull rushing a matador. Impulsively, I reciprocated and charged at her, but my plan degraded into a game of chicken, but with a cow. The odds of a victorious outcome were 1,000,000 to none. Running full speed toward the cow, I threw my body into her like a hockey player throwing a body block. Instead of knocking her to the ground as hoped, I was catapulted into the air, landing with a thud more than 20 yards from my patrol car. The pain and aches of that fall were eclipsed by my mounting anger for the cow. Between the trampling of my patrol car, chasing the cow down crowded streets, being hurled like a rag doll, and being covered in bloody nostril foam, I was beyond angry. I was filled with white-hot rage. I no longer had a plan, not even a bad one. The cow had clearly won our dim-witted chess game. My only move now was hoping she would get tired and simply stop. Storming out of the apartment complex, the cow stampeded toward a freeway access road. I gave chase, needing to reach her before she made it to the freeway, but I didn't have a clue how to stop her. The fear of her getting onto the freeway ran so deep in my brain that multiple slaps to the back of my head went unnoticed. It wasn't until a half dozen hits before I realized somebody was striking the back of my head. I turned and found myself staring at an honest-to-goodness cowboy with a lasso rope. The real-life chaps-wearing cowboy yelled for me to get out of his way, using repeated lasso strikes to the back of my head. I gladly complied. My cavalry had arrived, so I got out of the cowboy's way, allowing him to lasso the beast with the greatest of ease. The noose dropped around the cow's neck, and we both held onto the rope, bringing the creature to a stop. We ran up to the cow, and the cowboy tied her back legs, allowing us to take her to the ground. I assisted the cowboy by holding the cow down while he continued to tie all her legs together, immobilizing her. Not for a single second did I think it unfair that after chasing a cow over hill and dale, that it was a cowboy showing up at the last minute to save the day, and a lot of drivers on the freeway. The cowboy's takedown was exactly how I envisioned my plan working in the apartment complex, flawed execution withstanding. Not long afterward, the county livestock representative arrived, and the three of us untied the cow, leading her into the cattle truck without a hitch. While the cowboy and I were waiting for the cattle truck to arrive, he provided me with the backstory to my cow nightmare. The cowboy was driving to Tucson to deliver cattle to a rodeo, but in Phoenix, he got in a traffic accident on the freeway. His semi-truck jackknifed, breaking the cargo doors that secured his cattle. 2 cows got loose on the freeway, but he quickly got one back inside the cattle truck. He lost sight of the second cow until the state trooper's lights and sirens directed his attention to me.
Twist.
It is a standard protocol to inform the radio dispatcher when the emergency is Code 4, which means the situation is under control. The Code 4 should succinctly explain how the situation is resolved, such as, Code 4, the suspect is under arrest. At the end of my ordeal, I advised, Code 4, cow in custody. Upon returning to the precinct, I got into far more trouble for making a silly joke over the radio about the cow's arrest than I did for my damaged police car.